Hello and welcome back to Suspended Animation. I am your host, Dennis Betholkus, and this is Counterpart, Season 2, Episode 10, the final episode of the season and possibly of the series. Still not digging what Stars did. I'm almost ready to call for a boycott on Stars at this point if it would help, but you know what? Stars is pretty shitty. I'm dumping them anyway. I already canceled my subscription. It runs out on the 9th, and I'm done with them. I don't care about American Gods. American Gods can go screw itself too. Yeah, because it's on Stars. Anything that's on Stars now at this point is, as far as I'm concerned, is dead to me. So, with that said, let's get into the episode here. Spoiler alert, I am going to spoil it. If you haven't seen the episode, go and see the episode. Pirate it if you can. I don't care at this point because don't pay Stars to see it. Pay someone else to see it or get it however you want to at this point because fuck them. Fuck Stars. I am going to spoil it. Go and watch it. Come on back. Thank you, Viking Bitch, for the paddle. And away we go. So let me get on some glasses too so I can actually read my notes. There we go. Yeah, I know, Viking Bitch. Yeah, supposedly they renewed American Gods for 2 and 3. But yeah, they canceled their best show. So, hey, Brian Fisher. Hi, everybody in the chat. I'll get to everyone in the chat here once I'm done doing the recap. So, we get Yannick arriving home, and he bumps into his Mira, who has kids, and he apologizes for his clothes, as he says in German that he wishes he had better clothes. And she cries and hugs him because she hasn't seen him in 30 some odd years at this point. Yeah, touching reunion. And we go into the credits then at this point. And, excuse me, we have Mira Prime using her management cases to transmit out the final message there that the order from the operatives from both sides are going to return home. So anyone who is on their opposite side, they need to come home. And then the crossing is going to be closed permanently. They have 24 hours to negotiate and another 24 hours to close down the crossing. And this is read out to all the employees. She basically makes it so that it has to be read out to all the employees at Interchange there. Emily hears this. She's in the crowd. Emily Prime hears this back there, and she knows something is up, and so she takes off. And in the meantime, we see Mira. She's done. She takes her suitcases down to the car, and the car is being driven by Ian or Wesley, depending on how you want to call him. And he drives off with her in the car. So Emily goes down to Mira's cell and sees that it's empty and that Ian's gone. And she's like, oh, Ian, what have you done now, you cheeky monkey? She's being the British person that she is, But no, she's actually kind of pissed at Ian at this point that he, let her go. And especially since her other told her Mira should not go near management at all. It's a trap. And pretty sure she knows what's gone on at this point. So Ian is driving along with Mira, and he asks when Nomi is going to be released. And Mira tells him that, once everything is done, once all her business is done with him, then Nomi's going to be released. Yeah, it is a trap. So she ends up transferring to another vehicle, and Ian is helping her, move the suitcases, move the management suitcase, and he holds on to one. She goes, don't worry, I'll keep my promise. She'll get a call once she's been released. And that's the way she leaves it. She transfers to another car and takes off. I did not take Spacemodium. And I am doing a bit better. So I horked up some whatever that stuff was. So for those of you who don't know, I had viral pneumonia. And so I've been coughing quite a bit because I'm in the tail ends of just getting rid of it. And now I just have the cough that was left over. So what's my t-shirt? There you go. It's Legion. Another show that's ending this year, too. So I'm not very happy about that one either, but it's ending on better, circumstances than this one. So we have Howard Alpha is being interrogated after coming home, and he's just basically, and he's being interrogated about the coming attack. They know there's a coming attack. They just don't know what it is and where. And he says, he's basically throwing out names. He goes, I don't know, ask Peter Quayle. And they're like, Peter Quayle no longer works for this agency. He goes, I don't know, ask Aldrich. Aldrich is dead. And he's like, oh, shit, this all happened within a month's time. Remember, I mean, very, very quickly. Indigo is very precise about what they were doing. So they'll say, well, you violated the treaty by crossing over. Like, why'd you do this? And he says, I just did it to protect my wife. And they release him. And he and Emily Alpha are being driven back. She actually was watching the interrogation as it was happening via video. And the car ride is strangely silent on the ride back. And she reaches over and grabs his hand, and he pretends to close his eyes. So a little bit of tension going on there. So, yeah. Oh, my God. Howard Prime ends up calling up Quayle using Claire's phone and says that he has Claire and Spencer and wants to trade for her. And Peter's like, well, Naya Temple is here with me. And he goes, great. That saves me another phone call, is what Howard Prime says. And, Quayle basically says, I'm no longer a part of Intersect. They want, interchange, excuse me. I don't work for them anymore. He goes, well, it's going to take you a little bit longer time then to do that. He goes, you got my number? Give me a call. And he hangs up on him. And they're like, shit. Because they know he's got Spencer and Claire now at this point. And Howard Prime thinks that Claire is still in this stuff with Indigo. When Peter already told him that she's working with them and that she's, trying to get this information out of Spencer. And so he walks over to where Claire is being tied up. And he takes the tape off her mouth. And he goes, well, looks like your story panned out. She goes, I told you, I'm trying to find out where the hell the virus is and what they're going to do with it. And he untapes her hands, stands her up, brings her over into Spencer's room. And he goes, well, you're pretty good at manipulating people. You got 30 minutes, and throws her in the room and goes, go have at it. Good luck. And it's like, wow, he's kind of an asshole. We finally get to see what Howard Prime is really like when he's himself. And he really is kind of an asshole. So we see Diplomacy, which is, Claire's father and someone from the other side. They're talking about, they have a list of people. And so for every person, they're training technology. And we see all this technology that we want that they have. They're actually very advanced. They want, we want a blood purifier that would increase transfusions and transplants by 50%, the mortality rate. Whereas what they want is the schematics for 1 terabyte hard drive, which is really, for 1 fucking terabyte hard drive, that's all you want? And it just seems kind of weird that that's all they want is, and we've seen their technology looks a lot more evolved than ours, and I don't know. It's very weird that's what they were still asking for. And again, this is a shame that this is the, the last episode of ever, probably at this point, considering all the possibilities they have with this show. And yeah, I'll get into that at the end here. So Spencer and Claire end up talking, and she says she saw the real him the other night, and he says the real him does not love her, or he does not love the real her anymore. That's already done. And she goes, but she still says she loves him. And then she says he was wrong about Mira because she keeps dreaming about her other and how maybe the two worlds are part of nature's plans, and that acceptance is the only way to actually reconcile this, to make amends, if you will, not to be at each other's throats, but actually to accept one another and learn from one another. And he kind of blows it off and says, touts the party line. Mirror is right. Everyone needs to die, to learn their lesson. It's like, well, if you kill people, they're not going to learn. But yeah, all right, whatever. So, she's going to end up she's getting ready to get up and leave. And Spencer, because she's trying to get the information from him, where the other people are and where the virus is. And she gets up to leave because she's kind of exasperated at this point, and he gives it up to her and says, it's an old house out by, excuse me. It's a Mirror's old summer house out by Potsdam. He says he doesn't know where it's at, but they're going to inject themselves with the virus and then take trains out and disperse from there. So he said, didn't say take trains out, but they're going to disperse from there. And she gets up and immediately knocks on the door, and she's going to give him up to, of course, Howard, and give all that information up. So Howard and Emily end up returning home, and things are very quiet and tense. And he says, so he lived here, huh? She says, yeah, up until last night. And she goes, he was pretending to be you. She goes, I didn't know, especially with the brain injury. She didn't know. And she says that she isn't the person that she was before. She wants to be better. And he goes, that's not a pipe, because that's a pipe dream. He goes, no one can be, wanting something doesn't mean it's going to happen. And as he puts it, he says, we would all like to be better versions of ourselves, and I don't think that's possible. And she says, well, we really fucked things up, huh? And he says, yeah, we did. And she asks him if there's any way possible that they could, just start over from the beginning, from where they are now. He goes, I don't know if we could do that. And he tells her he doesn't know how to save us. And suddenly there's a knock at the door, and it's one of the guards, and says, there's someone downstairs to see you. He goes, he almost went past me. And they're like, well, who is it? And he said, well, it's you. And he points at Howard, and in walks Prime. And they immediately are, aggressive towards each other. And Emily's like, no, hold on. What the fuck do you want? And he finally asks Emily if she knows of a place that Mira might have had outside of Potsdam. And she goes, yeah, it's one of her addresses that she has for a summer house. He goes, well, that's where the people are. And she goes, okay, we need to go then. We need to contact Naya Temple, get everyone together, and get the hell out there. And Howard, Alpha protesting. He's like, you shouldn't be doing this in your condition. She goes, the fate of the world, basically a whole bunch of lives are on the line. I'm going to do it. I'm going out there. He says, okay, I'm coming with you. And of course, Howard Prime goes, I don't think you're equipped for this. And he goes, fuck you. I don't have to ask your permission, pretty much. And he goes out there and follows his wife. So, yeah. We see in the garage, someplace, Peter and Temple meet up with the Howards. And of course, Howard Alpha gets out of the car first. And Peter goes, where's my wife? He goes, I don't know. Ask him. And that's when Howard Prime pops up and he goes, she's in a safe place. When my deal gets gone through, then I'll release her. Excuse me. And yes, they did rush the end, Stanley Tweedle. You could tell they rushed it. It's everything was kind of packed in on this one. I think they wanted 2 more or 3 more episodes to kind of add a little more icing to it, and they weren't allowed it. So you could totally tell that they had the last 2 episodes were fairly rushed. So they all catch up on, who Naya Temple is. Howard Alpha doesn't know who Naya is, finds out. And they all get in their respective cars, and take off with the team. And they go out to the house out by Potsdam, outside of Potsdam there. So Howard Alpha and Howard Prime are sitting in the car together. And you can see that Howard Alpha is a little bit, in pain. And he kind of winces. And he goes, you okay? He goes, I've been shot. He goes, really? And he goes, yeah. And sleep deprived, starved, beaten, and interrogated. How was your month? So he's pretty pissed off at Howard Prime, because Howard Prime basically sent him over there saying, "Oh, you're going to pretend to be me and you're going to be fine," knowing full well that they were going to beat the fuck out of them. And that's exactly what they did. The team arrives at the house, and everyone but Peter and Howard Prime are given weapons. And as a matter of fact, Naya says, she puts a guard on them and says, "Watch them. Don't let them out of your sight." And so they can see the corner of the house. And as they're walking up there, they see bombs on the outside of the house. And they see movement, and they see Ethel. Ethel comes out, and she's got a gun in her hand. And Emily says, "Let me take care of this. I know these people." And she gives Naya her gun and starts walking over to Ethel, steps over a tripwire. She sees the tripwire and steps over it. Gets out to Ethel and basically talks to her and says, "You know what are you doing here?" And Ethel said she should have blown the house hours ago, but she was supposed to die out there. She was supposed to clean up, basically plant the bombs and clear everything out. Yeah, the Stanley Tweedle, this was so telegraphed. It was very telegraphed that we knew someone was going to die at this point. And it's, she sits down with Ethel and talks about being their better selves. As she says, we're both going to listen to our better selves. So her talk with Howard, she kind of gives to Ethel, and Ethel, you think is going to go, with her. As a matter of fact, Ethel gives up her friends and says, they're going to be at, this train station at 11 p.m. and they're going to disperse across Europe. And they've injected themselves with the virus. So they're going to die there. I'm going to die here. And Emily says, "No one, you're not going to die here." And so she takes the gun from her and she's leading her out. And we see that Emily is smiling at Howard. Howard's smiling back at her. And it's kind of weird. Ethel looks up at her smiling and seems to all of a sudden get pissed off. And she steps on the tripwire purposely, setting it off, exploding the house, and sending both her and Emily flying. And we see Emily is still alive. Howard Alpha has gotten over to her, and she's still barely alive. She's got blood coming out of her mouth, and they put her into a van and take her to the hospital. And it's kind of funny. Howard Prime is trying to get into the van, and Naya goes, "You're not her husband," and shuts the door. That's not your wife, is what she says. And shuts the door, and they take off. On the way to the hospital, she pulls out a pencil out of her pocket, and he asks for some paper to the driver, and she writes down something. He looks at it and goes, okay, I've got it. And he puts it in his pocket. They get her to the hospital, and he, of course, has to be separated from her because they're wheeling her into surgery and everything. And a doctor comes out immediately later, or a little while later, we get a little, time-lapse photography, if you will, and we know that she's dead at this point. So Emily Alpha dies. She has redeemed herself, but she dies. So we cut over to Naya coming out to Peter Quayle and saying, that she's, tells him about Emily. And he says, "Did she say anything?" And she's like, "No." And she goes, "What's the protocol for involving the police?" And Peter says, "We don't." And she goes, "Yeah, well, we're going to need to now at this point. We got to change this protocol. So what do we do?" And I thought that was kind of interesting because, at this point, Interchange has been acting on their own all this time. They've been their own police force, everything here, and they've been fucking up greatly because of all of this, because they haven't involved anybody in the outside world other than their own little enclave, if you will. And now they have to involve the police in this, and yeah, it's going to be really kind of fucked up now at this point. So we end up having Alpha going outside, and he finds Howard Prime, and he pulls a gun on Prime and tells him that she's dead, and he tells him to get on his knees, and he does. And Prime ends up giving over the watch and his wedding ring that he's been wearing, gives it back to him, and he tells him to do it. He goes, "I would if I were in your shoes." He goes, "I would do it." And Howard Alpha cannot kill him. He basically says, you should have not opened her letters, answered her letters. You should have told her to go back to her life with me. You should have just told her not to do what she did, and she would still be alive. And he says, you're right. You're absolutely right. He goes, I'm sorry. And that's when he pulls out the piece of paper, which has the name of the train station and the time at 11 p.m. And he goes, you don't have much time. He goes, get to them. I'm going to tell everyone else. And he gives him the gun and he takes off. So Howard Prime ends up going over to the train station. So we see at the train station, the Indigo agents meet up and they've got their tickets. They're going all over Europe and Istanbul. And they're infected at this point. And that's when Howard Prime shows up, finds out where they're at, and kills everybody. He basically just kills everybody in, all those people there. Dumps his weapon in the trash can and walks away. And Naya and the police show up with containment units for the bodies because these bodies are now infected. They're infected with a foreign virus. And everything is hunky-dory, right? Because everything's been stopped at this point. So we see Alpha returns to an empty house. He sees their wedding picture and he starts to cry. And we end up, going back over to Prime. He comes back to Baldwin's house and says, it's done. And she goes, so our deal's good? And he goes, no. He goes, I made a new deal. He goes, one that's better for us and one that we should have made all along. And they deliver Spencer and Claire to Temple. Spencer goes into custody. And Claire, basically Naya says, you know what? There's other Indigo agents out there that you guys have placed. And Claire offers her services to hunt them down. She goes, but my father can't know who I really am. And also, Peter needs to be reinstated. And she goes, well, Naya's like, I don't know what I can do with that. She goes, he's of no use to me. And she goes, but he's important. I lose all credibility if he's not reinstated. So she goes, I'll see what I can do. And Claire ends up returning to the house to Peter and the baby, and he hugs her. So, yeah, exactly. Naya was former FBI. We get that at the beginning of the season here. So finally, we see all the detainees are returned through the crossing, and Prime and Baldwin are the last people to go through the crossing. They actually watch the doors being closed and welded shut. And it's kind of funny. Howard Prime actually said something earlier about the virus. He says essentially what they're going to do was, what Mira's plan was to throw a grenade in through the door and shut the door tight. So you throw the grenade into the room, shut the door tight, and let it go. That's what the virus was. And we see Emily going over to Ian's looking for him. And she's got her gun drawn, of course, and she only finds a note. And he comes clean in the note as to who he really is, that he's been from the Alpha side all this time. His name was really Wesley, and that it's a shitty way to say goodbye to her, but he's left her with a gift, a way to find Mira. And it's a tracking device. And we've seen when he was pulling out the management case for Mira out of the back of the car, he actually planted a little tracking device underneath it. And also, as we're hearing the voiceover, the letter being read in his voice, we see Nomi has been released, and her boyfriend hug everything out there. So he's okay with that, and he's basically saying, you know what? Because I'm leaving, I'm starting a new life, kind of thing. You won't see me ever again, but here's a parting gift for you. Yeah, he did leave her a truth bomb and a prize for Nomi. So we see Spencer and Peter end up meeting, and Spencer's like, oh, I see your father-in-law pulled some strings for you again and got you your job back. He goes, no, it wasn't him. And he goes, you're too good for her. She's too good for you, is what Spencer tells him. He goes, yeah, I know. He goes, I just want to let you know, the crossing is closed completely now and permanently, and no one knows that you're here. No one even asked for you. He says, how does that make you feel that no one cares about you? And then Spencer counters right back. He goes, you know why we admire her so much? ask her about her other. What happened to her other? And you see Peter's face kind of turn because, of course, Peter was involved with her other before she stepped into his life there. So, yeah, kind of a pretty fucked up thing. So, Peter's sitting at home drinking, having a little, a lot to drink. And Claire comes in. She says, "How was your day at work?" And he goes, I met Spencer. And she says, "Oh, you know what? For this to work, I've got to come clean about something. I've got to tell you the truth." He goes, "Do you think maybe we can do this another night?" And then he asks if it's too late to rename their baby Spencer. And she goes, "How about Sarah?" He says, "With an H?" She goes, "Oh no." And he's like, "Oh no, not Sarah. No, I forbid that." He goes, "It's a really good name now." Gertrude. Yeah. And they start laughing. So we have Mira returning to her apartment, and she flips the light switch, and she looks down at her finger, and her finger's been pricked. Kind of like what happened to Emily Prime back in season 1. Yeah, and she says exactly what I would have said in German. Mir, Scheiße is what she says, which is shit. She knows exactly what happened at this point. She walks around the corner, and who's sitting on her couch with a gun but Emily Prime? And Emily says, I thought you would appreciate that. She goes, "Only this time it's a lethal dose." That's what she tells her. And Emily Prime tells her, she goes, "Yeah, my other was very smart and was onto you quite a bit on this." And Mira says, "I heard you met your other." She goes, "I never met mine because I was afraid to, because her life was too perfect." And she says, and I quote here, "My other will die in her own time. They all will." And that point, that's when the light went on in my head. I'm like, oh, shit. That's the reason why she let Yannick go. Yeah. Excuse me. I should have actually caught that really early on, but I'm pretty sure that my flu and all that shit had a lot to do with it, that it wasn't up to my 100%. But yeah, always thinking with a backup plan there. And she ends up dying right at Emily's feet, and you can see Emily's got that oh shit look on her face, because now the crossing is closed. They have no way of contacting them other than using the management cases, which no one's going to answer anyway because she's effectively cut off communication. And yeah, pretty fucked up, when you think about this. So Naya ends up meeting up with Howard Alpha outside of his apartment and apologizes, for his wife's death, and offers him a job in strategy, basically like his other. She goes, "Yeah, you'd be doing the same thing like your other would." And he's like, "Do you really think that she would have wanted me to do that?" And he goes, "No, this life isn't for me." He goes, I'm going to find a different life." And he says, "Thank you for coming by, though. It was nice of you." And he walks away from her. And I'm like, yeah, that's Howard Alpha right there. So finally we see Yannick taking his granddaughter to the park. And she goes off to go and play with some kids, and he starts coughing. And he looks down at his wrist, and he sees his wrist is discolored, and his veins are starting to turn different colors and all this stuff. And he remembers back to when he was sleeping on the couch, and when he woke up to have Mira just sitting there. And that's because he remembers that she injected him with something. She injected him with the virus. And now he's the carrier. He's the one that's going to infect the world. He keels over and dies in the park. And all these people start rushing over to him as we pull up and back from the park. And that's where we end. So yeah, very bittersweet that we left off this way. We left off on quite a big cliffhanger, if you will. And like Howard Prime says, she basically threw a live grenade into the room and shut the door. So there we go. I really hope this thing gets picked up. I really hope Counterpart gets picked up by, Amazon or Netflix or somebody like that, because it really needs to. It's a well-written, well-acted show. It's got tons of people in it that are. This is a dream casting, really, is what it is. It's a dream casting. I kind of was hoping that Howard Alpha was going to fuck over Prime, go, take his place back in the Prime universe, leaving him alone and fucked over in the Alpha universe, and basically going to live with Emily the way, things were. But no, he's a little too honorable for that. That's the whole thing. And yeah, there are a lot of storylines of Viking Bitch that could be continued. You're right on that. Andrej Marek says it's not much of a cliffhanger than losing grip and falling from the cliff. Yeah, but you don't know if this is going to set off a pandemic. It's one person from epidemiology. Sure, it's in a park, so a lot of people, got infected at that point, and also he's been walking around for, a couple of days with this. So who knows who else he's infected at this point? But yeah, it's kind of hard from one person being the spread versus what her initial plan was to spread it out across Europe. Speaking of which, Brian Fisher says they had other Peter, the luck thing, balancing of traits between both sides. Yeah, there were a lot of different storylines that you could see the startings of that they wanted to get to, and they weren't able to because Stars sucks balls and canceled them. Yeah, Mufinobi, Howard the nice guy. Nice guys finished last. I wanted either he or Emily to switch over, but they welded the door shuts too soon. Yeah, exactly. Movie Fanoe says, think about that incubation period. They had Emily's funeral. Yannick has returned home and settled in. It's been about a week or so they could have done more damage. Depends. If Yannick went out more, if he just stayed in the building. I mean, he's kind of an old guy who's been in one room for 30 years, really. He's been in one place. I don't think he's going to go out roaming quite a bit at first. So, you never know. And they probably would have explored that in a season 3. But, we're not going to get a chance to see that unless someone picks it up. I'm looking at you, Jeff Bezos. So, yeah, like I said before, I'm hoping someone takes up the cause and, people start sending ghost stones to Jeff Bezos to get him to pick it up, or sending it to Netflix, or sending him to both. Ghost stones are inexpensive. So I think that would be, what about Hulu? This seems like the loyal fan type of show they could use. Would you subscribe to Hulu just for this show if you don't already? That's a good question. I mean, I already subscribed to Hulu because Future Man, really. And there's other stuff that's on there too that's really good. But yeah, I mean, I think Amazon Prime would be the place to go. They are starting to build their library of things and shows. And quite honestly, I would like to see them do something like this. I know the the Julia Roberts, Sam Esmail show. Now I'm blanking on the title of it, which is really good. But that came and went. They're doing a season 2 of that, but she's not coming back for that. This is right up their alley. It's the same kind of show. And I wish Homecoming. Thank you, Stanley Tweedle. Yeah, Homecoming. This is the same kind of show as Homecoming. And it's in that market group. They need to actually bring in Counterpart. Same thing like Man in the High Castle. It's up their alley. It is part of that whole. They could actually build an entire subset of genre out of this type of show. Drama with a bit of sci-fi mixed in, or a lot of sci-fi mixed in. Yeah, Andrej Mark says the show is too cerebral for the normies to rally as much as they. You know what? I don't use that excuse. The show being too cerebral. That's sitting on a high horse and basically saying you're too stupid to watch the show. It's what Rick and Morty fans do a lot. They're like, well, you're too stupid to understand this show, so you don't get the intricacies. No. it either resonates with people or it doesn't. It's not that people aren't smart enough to get it. It's that everyone has different tastes. And it's, you know, yes, granted, you do have to pay attention to the show a little bit more. There are subtleties that are written into the show that if you're not watching, you can completely miss it. Like I looked down to take notes and I missed that Peter's secretary grabbed his gun and shot herself. So yeah, I just glanced down to see my notes and I missed that part. So that, you know, it does happen. And excuse me. Yeah, and Amazon has been better at marketing lately, considering Starz no marketing, except for fucking Outlander. I mean, the show that will not die. Speaking of zombie shows, man, that's the show that needs to die. That's the same season that's been going on over and over again for like, you know, what is it now? 6 seasons, 7 seasons, something like that. And quite honestly, that's a fucking boring show. But yeah, but for some reason, Starz decides to market the shit out of that one at Comic-Con and everywhere else. Except, you know, they don't do any of the other marketing for anything else of their other shows. Stanley Tweedle says, no, but we talked about this already. Some people just don't want to invest that much energy into TV. Yeah, that's true. People don't want to watch. Yeah, they. I was having this conversation with a coworker of mine. He wants to watch shows as an entire season drops so he can binge watch it. And I'm like, yeah, I get that, but at the same time, these guys want to sell advertisements so they can fund, you know, their shows. And I'm like, if you don't watch this while it's on, then, you know, if you watch it after the fact, sure. And he says, you know, I don't want to do week by week, you know, as it comes out. I want to watch it all at once. And it's like, well, if you watch it all at once, it kind of disappears, you know? People don't remember it as much as week to week where people can talk about it. So there's two different camps on this. And yeah, it is fun figuring it out. Exactly, Brian Fisher. You get a week to ruminate on what's been happening. And you go back and rewatch an episode and you're like, wait a minute, I didn't get that part right there. Or you go and watch somebody on YouTube and someone on YouTube brings up a theory about something. And you're like, holy shit, I didn't think about that. You go back and watch it and like, wait a minute, along with this theory, what about this? Yeah, and it's fun. It's that human nature thing about figuring out a puzzle. We're inquisitive little monkeys is what we are. And we all like to think about these problems. We like to problem solve. A lot of us do. And that's what this is. This is problem solving and also being entertained by doing that. So yeah, exactly. Movie Finobi says a time where big cable networks like HBO and Starz and Showtime are lost to streaming networks that can have adult content and quality. Exactly. Stanley Tweedle says, I'm not watching Outlander. Never would do that. Quickly hides the DVDs. It's okay if you do. Again, like I said, like I told you last time, Stanley, last night, if you like something, you like something. No one should be telling you differently. No one should be belittling you about it, and no one should be cutting you down because of what you like to watch. I mean, you know, like I said, I like shit too. Like shitty shows. I'm unabashed about it too. So yeah. I don't apologize for that, and I don't expect anyone else to apologize for it either. No judgment, Stanley. Exactly. It is a romance. It's a Harlequin romance novel with time travel thrown in. I knew what it was to begin with, and I was like, yeah, I don't need that. Morg says, but on the other hand, you have to wait to have a show. You have to wait a whole week, and it's crap, and maybe next week, and nope. Yeah, I mean, there are shows out there that are varying in quality from week to week. And some are just shitty to begin with, you know, from my perspective, or, you know, something like that. So Viking Bitch says, I'm not into romance, but my boyfriend keeps getting me to watch romantic movies. It's not so bad. Sorry, I had a little bile built up there, Finobitch. And it just came up. Yeah, the Westworld season 2 finale was kind of weird. I like it and I don't like it at the same time. It's one of those weird things. It's a fucking interesting premise, but I'm like, where are you going with this? You're not answering any questions. What's in the fucking box? You know? And it's a little frustrating on that one because I don't think they know where they're going with it. And that's what the problem is. Especially when your writers don't know where they're going and they don't have a clear ending in mind or a place they can touch down. They don't have a clear storyline involved. Like Lost, for example. They were just writing whatever the hell was cool. And they have admitted those first 3 seasons, they knew not what they were writing about. They just threw a whole bunch of shit in randomly. Yeah. So you know what? They Brian Fisher, they post credit the Man in Black ruined his story. Actually, I liked what they did with the Man in Black. And I'm interested to see where they're going with it. That's the one thing I am looking forward to. But of course, that's not going to be until what? I think 2020 is when the next Westworld is coming out, or 2021, something like that. I know it's a while out. Andrej Marek says, for me, the weekly model is good for the top shelf mainstream movies or shows which you can talk about to others, and binging for other ones I watch at my own pace to just escape into their imaginary worlds. Yeah, I agree with that. And yes, Stanley Tweedle, Deadly Class was a trip. It was very Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which I love. It's one of my favorite Hunter S. Thompson books, besides The Rum Diary, which is right up there. So yes, I have my Hunter S. Thompson collection up here. Yeah. I did not finish Umbrella Academy last night. I'm savoring it. I am on episode 8 right now. Is where I'm at. And yes, Umbrella Academy is living up to the book. I'm telling you right now. Oh, excuse me. Excuse me. Umbrella Academy is awesome. And I love Klaus. And I forgot how much I love Klaus in the book. And the actor they got to play Klaus is just, he's pretty damn good in it. And come on, Mary J. Blige playing Cha-Cha, a hired, a killer. Who would have thought, Mary J. Blige, who's a singer, who's now an actress. And yeah, just pretty damn funny. So, isn't he Klaus, the one from Misfits? I don't know, to tell you the truth. I don't know for sure. And yes, I did enjoy Doom Patrol as well. Doom Patrol, like I said, with Alan Tudyk as the villain in that, it's awesome. So yeah. But going back to Counterpart, hashtag save Counterpart. I'm putting that on pretty much everything. Also, I'm hoping someone takes up the cause, man, and starts sending ghost stones out to like Jeff Bezos, Netflix, Hulu, whoever will, take up the cause there. I'm just not equipped to actually start a campaign, quite honestly. I have problems as it is just doing the podcast on time and watching everything that I'm watching. So yeah, you're welcome to do it, man. I mean, anyone who wants to do it, please do that and send it on out. Maybe we can blackmail Bezos. You know what I mean, with his dick pics that are online? No. He's already sending those out as Christmas cards. So I don't think he's going to be able to be blackmailed by that. Cool. I'm glad, Viking Bitch, that Rough Girl is taking up that flag on Twitter. I'm hoping that she runs with it. Hazel and Cha-Cha? Is that what you're talking about, Mufinobi? Yeah, they are a power couple, Hazel and Cha-Cha. Raspberry jelly. For us non-Americans, what does it stand for at Sculpted Leather Viking Bitch? I can't call it UA, however. Okay, I don't know what you guys are talking about there. So, oh, UA. What UA means, I have no idea. Oh, Agnes, the donut. Okay, sorry, Mufinobi. I forgot that her name was Agnes. Yeah. And I can't remember the actress. I know she's been in tons of stuff, and I am blanking on that too. Yeah, we're bouncing around between different things. So I don't want this to turn into a whole, smorgasbord podcast. I want to keep it as Counterpart here. So, excuse me. If you like what you see, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. If you don't like what you see, hit the dislike button too. Either way. If you want to know when I'm going to be back on again, hit the bell down there. You get a 50-50 chance for YouTube to notify you when I have a new video coming up or a live video coming on. If you're still on the fence, you're going to see some videos up here that show up from my library that are tailored to your taste. They actually use your algorithms of everything that you've watched and pull from my library to see if you like what you see. If you like what you see there, then there's going to be a little subscribe button up here too that you can hit as well. So, yeah, and you can see when my schedule is going to be up. It's at suspendedfanimation.com. You can see my schedule there. You can see it on Facebook. I'm also on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I haven't posted anything on Instagram in a while. I need to do that. And so Slurmy, your notices have been coming in on time, thankfully. Yeah. And click the like button. Exactly. What about starting a subreddit? Honestly, Andrej, I don't follow Reddit. I have enough problems as it is with everything else that I'm working on. I have a full-time job too, so I think I'm at my limit, unfortunately. If you guys want to start one, that's perfectly fine. I'm just, like I said, I'm at my limit that I can do technology-wise, unfortunately. Especially with everything I'm watching. Right now, I'm covering. Now Sundays are free because Counterpart is done. Monday nights is going to be Future Man. So tomorrow is going to be Future Man. Tuesday nights is Project Blue Book. Wednesday nights is Deadly Class. Thursday nights is Gotham. Friday nights, wow, what is Friday nights now? Friday nights is Doom Patrol. There we go. Saturday mornings, I have Saturday Morning Blast Off, which is the aggregation of all the genre news of the week and pretty much any other genre stuff you guys want to talk about. And Sundays, I got to find something for Sundays now. I don't know what I'm going to do in that time slot. So we'll find out. So, yeah, and Saturday Morning Blast Off is a good time. Everyone chats and, Fanobich makes their saccharine sweet comments and everyone kind of gets their insulin boosters. And we pass around the insulin pump as well when they say all their stuff, their saccharine sweet stuff to each other. And everyone kind of retches a little bit, but it's all good. So with that said, you're not gonna be able to make the blast off twice in one weekend. Well, that's fine. Dennis might not be able to blast off twice in one weekend. Oh, is that what you're saying, Mufanebi? How do you know? Huh? Yeah, tell me about it, Fanobich. Stanley tweeted, after the Fanobich stuff, you're going to need some insulin. You really are. You may actually need to have that pancreas removed too. Who knows? Yeah. So with that said, take a look at the videos, hit the subscribe button. Other than that, I'm going to let you guys go. Don't let the door hit your ass on the way out because they might weld the door shut right after you're done. Talk to you later, guys.